I could hear the awful sound as I passed my daughter's room. Debbie was sobbing softly, yet again. I knew that she was still hurting, at least emotionally. She didn't understand. But then, even I was having a hard time with it. Debbie was only 6 years old. It's a given that she wouldn't understand. I, on the other hand, am 27. I'm Tommy Hart and I'm old enough to know that sometimes things don't work out the way we want them to. I pushed open her door and could see from the light from the hallway that she was clutching her favorite doll. The one that Lori had given her on her last birthday. Lori had been my wife, Debbie's mother. It had been just less than 6 months since the accident that took Lori from us. A drunk driver had run a red light. Debbie and I had spent about 2.5 weeks in the hospital. Lori wasn't as lucky. The drunk had hit us broadside on Lori's side. She had died instantly. At least she didn't suffer. The drunk had been charged with manslaughter and I had a civil lawsuit pending against him and the city. He was a city maintenance worker, on duty in a city truck. Somebody should have known about his drinking on the job. Somebody should have been able to stop him. The lawsuit and his arrest didn't give me any solace, though. It wouldn't bring Lori back. I went in and sat next to Debbie and held her in my arms. I miss Mommy, Daddy. I know you do, sweetheart. So do I. But we have to remember all the good times that we had with Mommy. You remember the fun we had, don't you? Mommy and I had lots of fun. We used to play with my dolls and had tea parties and fixed each other's hair and played dress up. But now I can't do those things anymore. Oh, honey, you can still do those things. Aunt Beth will play with you. Aunt Beth is fun, but it's not the same. And she's always working. You're here with me most of the time. Would you play with me, Daddy, please? Well, sure, we can play dolls and tea party. And dress up and fix our hair, too. Your hair is almost as long as mine now. I can make it look real pretty. Mommy taught me. Please, Daddy, please. At that moment I would have done anything to make her happy again. Okay, I promise, we can do all those things, but right now it's late and you need to go to sleep. Okay, but will you stay with me for a while? She asked. Sure. I kissed her on the forehead and lay down beside her on her bed. She hugged my arm tightly with her doll in the crook of her other arm. It wasn't long before she was sleeping peacefully. Lori had always wanted me to let my hair grow out. I had just started letting it grow when the accident happened. I hadn't gotten a haircut since and my golden blonde hair was now spilling over my shoulders. Beth is my sister, 3 years older than I. Beth and Lori had met in cosmetology school and had quickly become best friends. Beth had introduced Lori and I and we began a whirlwind romance. After they graduated from cosmetology school, Lori and Beth had opened their own salon and they were doing pretty well. The salon is still doing well, but now Beth and I own it. I had helped out at the salon some when they were short-handed. Lori and Beth had both taught me a little about makeup and hair, but I mostly worked the register, set appointments and swept up. I didn't really mind. It kept me close to Lori. I didn't have a traditional 9-to-5 job anyway, so I had the time to help them out. I'm a writer and have sold some articles and even 2 mysteries. I haven't written since we lost Lori, but with my last book deal and with the salon income, we were doing pretty well. At breakfast, Debbie came into the kitchen humming a song that Lori had taught her. She was smiling again. Debbie was very independent and had been dressing without any help for some time. Today she looked very pretty in a yellow sundress with a matching bow in her hair. She got her incredible fashion sense from her mother. I fixed her some cereal and when she was finished she was ready to play. She didn't hesitate to remind me of my promise. We carried most of her stuffed animals and dolls out to the back porch with her tea set and had a tea party. Later when she got bored she helped me clean up and she went to watch some cartoons while I had some yard work to do. When the yard was finished I cleaned up some and made Debbie and I some lunch. PB&J, Debbie's favorite. After lunch I laid back in my recliner while Debbie brushed out my hair. I guess I was more tired than I thought and I must have dozed off. I woke up when I heard the front door open. It was Beth. She had her own key and visited often. Wow, Tommy, you look great. That's kind of a new look for you, but I think it's working. I looked in the hall mirror and sure enough, Debbie had brushed my hair into pigtails, complete with nice blue ribbons. Beth, Debbie was just playing around and I was a little embarrassed and started to remove the ribbons when I saw the pretty blue nail polish that matched my hair ribbons. Debbie had certainly been busy. Beth grabbed my hand and said, "Don't you dare. Debbie obviously worked very hard to make you pretty. You can tolerate it for a while." Just then Debbie came running and yelling and gave Beth a big hug. "Aunt Beth, did you come to play dress up with us?" "Play dress up with us? Do you have a friend over or is Daddy going to play dress up with us?" "Daddy promised to play with me. Please stay and play with us." "Sure, I can stay. I've just got to see this." With that, Debbie dragged both of us into mine and Lori's bedroom and threw open Lori's closet doors. Beth seemed a little surprised to see that I hadn't gotten around to getting rid of Lori's clothes yet. I just couldn't bring myself to dispose of even one memory of Lori. Debbie and Beth started going through the dresses trying to find something that I could try on. I knew the fit wouldn't be a problem. Lori had often worn my shirts and jeans. They both grabbed for a blue silk sheath dress at the same time. "This will match your hair ribbons, Daddy." I knew there was no point in trying to talk my way out of it. I had promised, after all. I took the dress and went into the bathroom and changed into it. I was uneasy as I stepped back into the bedroom. "Not bad, Tommy, but it's all scrunched up on the hips. What are you wearing under your dress?" "Just my boxers." "Well, that's not going to work. It doesn't look right. I'll get you the proper underwear for a lady. And all that hair has to go, too. Come back in the bathroom." "Beth, shave my legs? Do I have to?" "Of course not. I wouldn't make you shave. You can use the hair remover lotion. And wash your hair, too." Beth told me how to do it and left me to my task. Less than 30 minutes later I had shaved my face and the lotion had done its job quite well and had removed all of the hair below my neck. I wasn't very hairy to begin with, and with my blonde hair even my beard was hard to see when I shaved. When I stepped out of the shower and dried off I found that Beth had removed my boxers and in their place were a pair of white satin panties, a matching bra and a matching full slip. Before getting dressed I needed something to ease the sting the hair remover had caused. I found some of Lori's scented body lotion and rubbed it all over my body. I now smelled like lilacs, like Lori. I pulled the panties up my legs and into place. When I complained that I couldn't get the bra hooked, Beth came in and helped me saying, "You smell sweet." She hooked the back and adjusted the straps, then used some nylons to pad my bra. As she picked up the slip she saw the bulge in the front of my panties and told me to tuck it back out of the way. That done, she then pulled the slip over my head. What an incredible feeling on smooth skin. It actually gave me the shivers. This was actually the second time that Beth had dressed me up. She had talked me into dressing as a girl for Halloween one year when I was about 8, although I don't remember it feeling like this. At the time I think I had something else on my mind, like candy. When I stepped out Debbie was so excited she tried to whistle, but couldn't. It was so funny, we all had a good laugh. Beth had me sit at Lori's vanity and she started putting my hair up in hot rollers with Debbie handing Beth each roller as Beth asked for it. When my head was completely covered with rollers, Beth sat me under a hairdryer. While my hair dried Beth started on my nails, removing the blue polish and replacing it with a soft red. My toenails were done to match. When she had finished my nails, Beth started applying makeup to my face. Just a bit of foundation, some eyeshadow, mascara, blush and lipstick that matched my nails. Beth made sure my nails were dry and handed me some nylons and taught me how to roll them up my legs. Debbie dug in the bottom of the closet and found me some blue high heels with a mid-heel. I slipped them on and was surprised that my feet were small enough to actually fit into Lori's shoes. Beth had me step into the blue silk dress again and zipped me up. I still had not been allowed to see myself, yet. Beth had me sit at the vanity again and she took the rollers out and brushed out my hair. Debbie then helped me put on clip-on earrings, a necklace, 2 rings and an anklet. A spritz of perfume and I was dubbed ready to break hearts. Debbie held my hand as she pulled me toward the full-length mirror. I was in total shock as I looked in the mirror. My hair cascaded down in soft curls, bouncing on my shoulders and flipping up slightly at the ends. My makeup was flawless. My blue eyes were highlighted by the makeup Beth had used and my lips looked very kissable. I couldn't speak. But Debbie could. "Daddy, you look beautiful," said Debbie. Beth said, "She certainly does, doesn't she? But we need a new name for her. We can't keep calling her Tommy or Daddy. I finally found my voice again. "Tammy." "What did you say?" asked Beth. "Lori used to tease me that I was so pretty, I should have been a Tammy and not a Tommy." Beth said, "Well, Tammy it is then. What do you think, Debbie?" "I think Aunt Tammy is beautiful." I said, "Well, you two made me beautiful, so I think it's your turn. I'm not going to be the only one looking so pretty. I'll find you both a nice dress." The more I walked back and forth looking for something for the girls to wear, the more I got used to the heels I was wearing. Debbie wouldn't let me take them off. Debbie was so cute in a short floral slip dress that was floor length on her, and Beth looked great in everything. For the next couple of hours we must have tried on 100 different outfits, and Beth and Debbie looked just as beautiful as I did. I can't believe it, but I actually got into it and had a lot of fun. We all had fun, especially Debbie. We began to get hungry and Beth offered to buy us all dinner out, dressed the way we were. I told Beth that I wasn't ready for that yet. She relented and we decided to order pizza delivered. When the delivery boy came with the pizza, Beth was conveniently in the bathroom and Debbie wouldn't answer the door for me, so I had to deal with paying for the pizza myself. By then I was dressed in a short black skirt, a white lace, almost see-through blouse and 3-inch black patent pumps. If I didn't know better, I could swear I saw a look of lust behind the delivery boy's huge smile. I pushed a 20 into his hand and told him to keep the change, just to get me out of the so-called spotlight. When he left and I turned around, I saw Beth and Debbie both peeking around the corner and giggling. They had set me up. After we ate, we sat and watched TV for a little while before it was Debbie's bedtime. With Debbie asleep, Beth and I talked some more. "Tammy, I want you to know just how proud I am of you, for everything, but especially for your dedication to Debbie. There aren't many fathers that would go through what you have today just to please their daughter. But, tell me, you were having fun today, too, weren't you? You like this, don't you?" I blushed big time. Well, I did enjoy watching Debbie having fun, and I have to admit, I did have fun myself. And, all these beautiful, silky clothes. I never knew clothes could feel this good. I guess I do like it, a little. Does that make me weird? Beth said, "Not at all, sweetie. I think it's cute and I will love you no matter what. When you dressed up for Halloween, you made a cute girl. Now I see that you can be a beautiful lady." We hugged and she got up to leave. Beth suggested, "Why don't you bring Debbie by the house tomorrow to swim?" "Sounds good, we'll see you after lunch." That night I removed my makeup and the polish from my fingernails. I can't explain why I left the polish on my toenails. I found one of Lori's nightgowns, a long peach-colored satin and lace beauty, to sleep in. I slept quite peacefully. The following day Debbie helped me do a few chores around the house, and after lunch we headed over to Beth's. Beth wanted to know where my suit was and I said that I had just planned on watching and getting some sun. Debbie wouldn't have it and wanted me to swim with them. I said, "Okay, I guess I'll just swim in my cutoffs." Beth said, "Oh, no you won't. The loose strings can damage the pump. I'll find you something." Beth was gone for a few minutes, and when she returned she said she had left me a suit in the bathroom for me to change into. In the bathroom I only found one of Beth's black 2-piece suits. I picked up the bottoms and decided that they weren't that different than a man's bikini swimsuit, so I put it on and walked out to meet the girls. Beth said, "Tammy, did you forget your top?" "Beth, this is out in public. In my house is one thing, but somebody might see." "Out in public? You're in my backyard." Who's going to see? Well, not today. I was embarrassed enough when Beth saw my painted toenails again. Anyway, we swam, had a lot of fun, and we all got the start of a good tan. Over the next 3 weeks, Debbie and I played dress up and tea partied many more times. On several of those days, Angie, a friend of Debbie's, came to play, and the three of us dressed each other up. Angie's father, Rusty Williams, was also a single father, having lost his wife to cancer last year. One afternoon after one of our dress-up sessions, I was barefoot wearing a denim skirt with a pink tank top and full makeup and pink nail polish, and my hair was pulled up into a high ponytail with a pink scrunchie. I didn't hear the door and Debbie let Rusty in. He had come by to pick up Angie. I rounded the corner next to the kitchen and literally ran right into Rusty. I lost my balance and would have been knocked to the ground if Rusty hadn't caught me. I was so embarrassed, standing there in his arms. Rusty and I had known each other for several years, but I had never noticed how handsome he was. He had wavy brown hair and piercing light blue eyes. He had gotten his strong muscular body from many years working and building up his own construction company. What was happening to me? Did I just think of a guy friend of mine as handsome? I blushed. Rusty, you're very pretty, Tommy. Debbie said, "This is Aunt Tammy." Rusty, I was just playing with the girls. It's okay. I don't mind, Tammy. Angie had mentioned that you play dress up with her and Debbie sometime, but I didn't expect you to look so good. Rusty, you can let go of me now, I won't fall. This time we both blushed. Debbie asked if Angie could go with us the following day to swim at Beth's. I said, if it's all right, we could come by on our way to Beth's and pick up Angie. Rusty said Angie could go swim with us, and we set a time to pick her up. The following day we picked up Angie and headed to Beth's. Again, I had forgotten my suit. Beth said that my other suit was still in the bathroom. I put my hair up in a bun and put on the suit, both pieces this time, and then joined the girls. Beth said I was very pretty, even without any makeup. We splashed around and sunned most of the afternoon. A little after 5 p.m. I heard the gate open and slam shut, and there was Rusty. Hi, girls. Are you all having fun? I tried to turn away and hide. It was one thing for me to be dressed up at home playing with the girls, but here I was out of the house wearing a bikini. Rusty came straight over to me. Hi, Tammy. How are you? Hi, Rusty. I thought I'd come by to get Angie and save you from having to bring her by. By the way, one of my suppliers gave me a couple of tickets to the baseball game Saturday. I was wondering if you might want to go with me. I smiled and said, "The Rangers, I'd love to go." Great, how about I pick you up around noon and we'll grab some lunch before the game? Sounds good, Rusty. I'll see you Saturday at noon. Come on, Angie, it's time for us to leave. Bye, girls. Did Beth just wink at Rusty as he was leaving? Nah, I must be seeing things. The rest of the week went by quickly and rather normally. Except for the fact that I was spending more and more time as Tammy, and I was getting pretty good with makeup, if I do say so myself. Of course, not as good as Beth. When Saturday came, Rusty was right on time. Rusty came in with Angie and Amanda, the babysitter who was going to stay with Angie and Debbie. Amanda was a cute 16-year-old from the neighborhood who sat for both our families from time to time. I was wearing my Rangers t-shirt and cutoffs with my hair tied back low under my Rangers cap. I didn't know why, but I could see disappointment on Rusty's face. Rusty said, "Tommy." I asked, "Rusty, is there something wrong?" He said, "Well, when I asked you to go to the game, I was really inviting Tammy." I was shocked and stammered, "Rusty, I don't know." Amanda was pretty smart, glancing back and forth from me to Rusty with a questioning look, and started to ask, "Who is Tam?" Just then Amanda put 2 and 2 together and smiled as big as her eyes were wide. Amanda said, "Take a seat, Mr. Williams, Tammy will be out in a few minutes." Amanda then pushed me toward the bedroom. Amanda asked, "Can you do your own makeup?" I blushed and meekly answered yes. "Good, You start on your makeup while I find you something to wear to save time. I did my makeup subtly. In no time at all, my makeup was done and I was wearing a pair of denim shorts, a white gauze peasant top that showed my bra under it, and a pair of sandals. Amanda said, "Damn, girl, you're better with makeup than I am. But, if you're going to do this very often, you really need to get some better tits." Amanda. Sorry. Turn around and let me at that hair. Amanda brushed my hair, leaving it down but pulling the sides to the back and securing it with a hair clip. You better get going, girl. Oh, Amanda, I don't know if I can do this. I've never really done this in public before. Mr. Hart, Ms. Hart, Amanda, just call me Tammy. Tammy, look at you. If I hadn't helped you get ready, I would never believe you were a guy. You are one fine-looking lady and your man is waiting for you. My man? Amanda, this isn't a date, or anything. Maybe you don't think so, but Mr. Williams thinks it's a date. Trust me. Now it was time to panic. Here I was minutes from going out in public for the first time as a woman, and Rusty might be thinking of this as a date. Amanda had to be wrong. Oh, my God. What am I going to do? First, you're going to calm down or you're going to hyperventilate and pass out. I know you're not very big, but I still don't think I can pick you up. Then you're going to go to the baseball game with Mr. Williams and have a good time. No offense, but it's about time you got out and started having fun again. I took a few deep breaths and said, I can do this, I can do this. I put a few things in one of Lori's old purses, put it over my shoulder and walked out to Rusty. He was definitely more pleased to see Tammy than Tommy. We said goodbye to the girls and left. Rusty was very attentive, opening the car door for me and everything. We had a quick burger, since I had made us run a little late, and we hurried off to the game. On the way to our seats, Rusty guided me through the crowds with his hand on the small of my back. Our seats were on the left field side, not far from the outfield. After about the third inning and as many beers, I finally began to relax. In the sixth inning, Rusty caught a home run ball and gave it to me. In the seventh inning, the beer was working on me and I suddenly realized that I was going to have to use the ladies' restroom. I knew that I wouldn't be able to wait until I got home. I went down and found the restroom. I stood outside for several minutes watching women go in and trying to work up the courage. I noticed that the women going in and out were all types. They were short, tall, skinny, plump, very feminine, and some more masculine than I was in guy mode. I gathered up all my courage and went in and did what I had to do. I passed several ladies going in and out, and none of them treated me any different than they did the other ladies. I checked my makeup and reapplied some lipstick. As I was finishing my lipstick, an attractive woman, maybe 10 years older than I, came up to the mirrors and began to check her makeup. She smiled at me and said, "You are so beautiful. I remember when I was as pretty as you. Your husband must be very proud." I blushed and thanked her for her compliment, then assured her that she was still quite pretty herself. I left the woman smiling and combing her hair, and I made my way back to my seat. Rusty asked me what I was smiling about when I returned to my seat. I just said, "It's a girl thing." Our Rangers won the game 5-4, and all in all we both had an enjoyable day. When we got back to the house, I was afraid that Rusty might try to kiss me. He didn't. He was a perfect gentleman the whole day. I didn't want to be kissed by another man, but for some reason I found myself being a little hurt that he hadn't at least tried. I didn't understand why I was feeling this way. I found myself wanting to spend more time with Rusty, so when he invited Tammy and Debbie to go with he and Angie to the local zoo the following day, I readily agreed. Amanda got me by myself and asked if Rusty had kissed me. I said, "No. I told you this wasn't a date." Amanda said, "Oh, you naive girl. I can see I'm going to have to teach you a few things." Rusty and Angie gave Amanda a ride home. The following day, Debbie and I dressed in matching t-shirt and short, all sets, Debbie's in pink and mine in light blue with matching ribbons in her hair. I fixed Debbie's hair and she fixed mine. Then we fixed a picnic basket we would take to the park for lunch after the zoo. Rusty and Angie came and the four of us left for the zoo. As Rusty and I walked and watched the animals and the girls, the thought occurred to me that we must have looked like the perfect family, a husband and wife watching their two daughters have fun. As we walked around, Rusty's hand found mine and I surprised myself when I didn't pull my hand away. After the zoo we all went to the park and had a nice lunch on a blanket, and Rusty and I watched as our daughters played on the playground equipment. Still, Rusty didn't try to kiss me. I was confused. Was there something wrong with me? I was beginning to think he didn't like me. But then he had held my hand. Why was I even thinking about such a thing? I don't know why, but it made me feel a little better when Rusty asked me to dinner for the following Saturday and I readily accepted. During the week I didn't see Rusty. I knew he was busy with a big construction project. I was now spending more time as Tammy than I was as Tommy. Beth came by on Wednesday and invited Debbie and I to swim and dinner. I told Beth to take Debbie and I would meet them there later. I had something to do. When I arrived at Beth's, she said, "Your suit is still in the bathroom." I told her, "I don't need your suit anymore, I brought my own." Beth seemed disappointed. I went in to change, and when I joined Debbie and Beth at the pool, Beth's mouth hung open. I was wearing a two-piece bikini, white with big blue flowers with a matching cover-up. I went shopping. Beth said, "Oh, you look so good," and she jumped up and hugged me. "Thanks, sis. By the way, Debbie tells me that you and Rusty have a date Saturday. And the baseball game and the zoo?" I said, "I'll have to talk to Debbie about tattling on her Aunt Tammy." "Beth, I find myself thinking of Rusty a lot. I'm attracted to him. We've been friends for years, but now I see him differently. I think we could become more than friends. I'm scared and excited at the same time." "Tammy, look at yourself. You're becoming a beautiful woman. Why wouldn't he be attracted to you and you to him? He is so handsome. You two would make a great couple. If it's meant to be, then let it happen. Relax and have fun while it lasts. And Saturday, come by the salon and we'll get you ready for your date." "Thanks, sis." Saturday morning Amanda came to stay with Debbie so I could go to the salon per Beth's instructions. I wore just some shorts and a light blue camp shirt with minimal makeup. Beth greeted me as I entered the salon. I had used the hair removal lotion again just that morning, so I knew I was okay in that respect. Beth gave me an inspection anyway. We went into one of the private booths in the back and Beth had me stripped to my panties. As I lay back on the table, Beth said, "I bought you a couple of surprises. I hope you don't mind too much." "So, you bought me that silver Mercedes I've had my eye on, huh?" "Well, not quite, but maybe these will start an engine or two. These are a little more personal than a car." She then pulled out a box, opened it up and took out two very real-looking breast forms. I started to get up and without another word Beth just pushed me back on the table. She handed one to me as she applied glue to the other and placed it on my left chest. I was amazed at the feel and I didn't even realize that I was kneading the right one a little with my fingers. "Quit playing with your breast. Just hand it to me, I'm ready to put it in place." I blushed and gave it to Beth. Then she repeated the process with the right one. When the glue was dried, Beth used a little makeup on them and the seams seemed to disappear. She pulled out another box and took out what appeared to be some kind of flesh-colored panty. "Close your mouth, sis. You can thank me later," said Beth. She helped me get it on and I tucked my package back out of the way and Beth used the same glue on the panty seams. It was padded and gave me fuller hips and a rounder backside. Then, Beth wrapped a corset around me and started pulling on the laces. I thought she was going to cut me in half. I put my panties back on and then tried the bra but found it didn't quite fit me anymore, so I just went without. I was still trying to catch a good breath, but when I looked in the mirror and saw the cute woman with the curvy figure, I thought, this just might be worth the pain. I don't really need to breathe that much anyway. Beth handed me a short silk robe and we moved out to the shampoo station. My hair was washed and set on rollers, and one of our other beauticians, Sandy, came and put nail extensions on for me. I was embarrassed at first. The other girls at the salon had not seen me like this before, but none of them were snickering or making fun of me. They didn't seem surprised at all. Even if I was their boss, they seemed genuinely friendly towards me and engaged me in girly talk about fashion and makeup. Sandy even asked me about my date. I tried to tell them it was just a couple of friends going out to dinner. She did snicker at that. By the time that my hair was dry, I had bright red toenails that matched my now long, bright red fingernails, and Beth had done my makeup in a more dramatic fashion than I had worn before, suitable for an evening out. Beth took the rollers out and brushed and styled my hair into a beautifully feminine wavy style with bangs. All the girls stopped what they were doing and came to see my finished look. Even two ladies that were there having their hair done came over and commented on how beautiful I was. I couldn't believe it, but I was actually smiling with pride. Beth asked me what I was going to wear for my date. I had to admit that up until then I had not thought about it. Trying to think of what was still hanging in Lori's closet, I said, "Lori has this really pretty red dress." Beth said, "Oh, no. This calls for your own dress. Come on, sis, we're going shopping." Beth told Sandy to close the shop at the normal time after all the customers had been taken care of. I quickly dressed in Beth and I headed to the mall. At one of the major department stores we both tried on several dresses. I found this gorgeous black sequin strapless dress that really accentuated my new curves. I was elated that I now had the special womanly features required to hold up a strapless dress, and it actually showed some cleavage. Imagine me with cleavage. I ended up buying 3 dresses, and I paid for a red halter-style dress for Beth that looked great on her, just to say thank you for all she had done for me. We left laughing and skipping down the mall corridor like two girlfriends. As we passed a jewelry boutique, I had a sudden urge and went inside and had my ears pierced and small diamond studs inserted. It just seemed like the natural thing to do since I had beautiful hair, makeup, a great figure, and a new dress. Beth found a necklace and bracelet to match. By the time I got home, I barely had time to wash up, touch up my makeup, and slip on my new black strapless dress, the same 3-inch black patent heels I wore when meeting the pizza boy, and a touch of Incline perfume, my favorite. When Rusty showed up with Angie, Amanda let him into the living room and came to get me. Amanda looked at me and said, "Wow, girl, Mr. Williams doesn't stand a chance tonight. He's going to melt like hot butter. Do you have a raincoat?" I replied, "Amanda, there was no mention of rain in the forecast. You won't need the raincoat for rain. I have a feeling that Mr. Williams is going to drool all over you tonight." I blushed at her compliment, but the truth was, I was pleased that I could look so good for Rusty, and if I do say so myself, I looked hot. Debbie got me a black sequin clutch that she and Amanda put a few things in. A final check in the mirror, a deep breath, well, as deep as I could in the corset, and I headed to the living room. When I walked in, all Rusty could do was bug his eyes out and drop his jaw. I had to cross the room and take the beautiful flowers that he had brought to me out of his hand. Rusty finally said, "I knew that you were beautiful, but you look amazing." I thanked him for the flowers and gave him a kiss on the cheek. I found a vase to put the flowers in, and when I turned around, Amanda had a digital camera and took my picture. We don't own a digital camera, and this had all the markings of being a Beth setup. I really didn't mind, and several more pictures were taken of me alone and of Rusty and I together. Then Amanda grabbed Debbie, told us to wait, and they disappeared into the bedroom. When they came back out, they had a beautiful lace shawl. Debbie handed it to Rusty. I turned around and he draped it over my shoulders. It was the perfect complement to my new dress. We left and went to a lovely Italian restaurant where the food was great and the company was better. Rusty again was very attentive all night. He took every opportunity to be close to me, holding my hand, pulling my chair out for me, and putting his arm around my waist whenever he could. We went to a local nightclub for a few drinks after dinner. Most of the time we just sat close in a booth and talked. We did dance a few dances, and I found it quite easy for me to be led around the dance floor by this handsome man. We were dancing close, and I had laid my head on Rusty's chest as we held each other. When last call was announced, I looked up at Rusty and he gently kissed me on the lips. Then he backed away slightly, but still holding me, to see my reaction to the kiss. The ice was really broken then, and for some reason I was relieved that we had passed that hurdle. I put my arms around Rusty's neck and kissed him deeply. We walked arm in arm back to the car and held hands all the way home. Rusty and I kissed again on the front porch before going inside. Debbie and Angie were asleep and Angie was going to spend the night rather than wake her up. Amanda was smiling knowingly. I blushed and smiled, too. Rusty gave Amanda a ride home. I went into Debbie's room and just watched her sleep for the longest time. Both the girls looked like little angels. I slept soundly myself that night and had wonderful dreams. Over the next few months Rusty and I continued to date and we became very close. Debbie and Angie continued to be best friends and the four of us did some fun activity together almost every weekend. Of course, Debbie, Angie and I and sometimes Beth played dolls, tea party and dress up often. I continued to work at the salon when needed, as Tammy, of course, and Beth and I would have lunch together most days. During one of those lunches I finally told Beth that I had reached a decision. "Beth, I am ashamed," I said. "Why? Because you enjoy feeling and dressing like a woman?" "No. I've come to accept that this is what I was meant to be. I don't regret becoming Tammy at all. What I'm ashamed of is that I have moved on with my life without Lori. I never thought I would be able to love another person like I loved Lori. And yet, less than a year after her death I have fallen in love again. I feel guilty about finding another love. Is that terrible of me? Tammy, I know how much you loved Lori and I know how much she loved you and Debbie. You don't have to forget Lori, but she would want you to be happy. She would be happy that you found somebody else to share your life with. Lori would also want Debbie to have two parents, again. So, what are you going to do about it?" "You mean Rusty and I?" "Well, we haven't talked about that. But I have decided that I don't want to go back to being Tommy. And I would like to be more of a woman for Rusty. You know, I was never very macho. Being a woman just seems more comfortable to me. Now, I'm the person that I was meant to be." Beth said, "I thought you might feel that way. I have a doctor friend that might be able to help you. Why don't you let me call her tomorrow and set you an appointment?" I said, "Thank you, Beth. You've always been my best friend." We hugged for the longest time. The following Tuesday I met with Dr. Ann Roberts. She was very thorough, with lots of tests and even more questions. I explained to her the events over the last several months and that I had basically been living as Tammy full-time for the past 4 months. I started on hormones that same day. Debbie's birthday fell just before school was to begin. Rusty took some time off from work and flew the four of us to Disney World in Florida for a combination vacation/birthday. Watching Debbie and Angie dance around with the 3 little pigs and Mickey was great. When school started that fall, it was Tammy that took Debbie and Angie to the first day of classes. The girls were in the same class and Rusty was always working, so it just seemed natural for me to play the mother role, taking and picking up the girls from school. The principal was an old friend of Tommy's who didn't seem to be all that surprised to find me living as Tammy. What did she know back then that I didn't? By the time Christmas rolled around, my breasts were starting to develop fairly well and Rusty was as pleased with my progress as I was. Rusty and I provided the refreshments for the girls' Christmas party at school and became regulars at most of the school functions. When school started again after Christmas, the girls and some of the other mothers talked me into becoming a den mother for a brownie troop. If I thought 2 girls were a chore, 6 to 8 girls in the house every Monday after school was a real challenge. On Valentine's Day, Rusty had planned a very romantic dinner at the same restaurant he took me on our first date. After dinner, Rusty had some champagne brought out for us. The waiter handed each of us a glass and Rusty and I locked arms in the traditional lover's fashion and started to drink. Just as I was taking that first drink, I noticed something in the bottom of my glass. I reached into my glass and pulled out the most beautiful engagement ring I have ever seen. Rusty took it from my hand, got down on one knee, slipped it on my ring finger and asked me to marry him. Again, I was at risk of hyperventilating. I began to cry, yelled yes and wrapped my arms around him as we kissed deeply. The other patrons in the restaurant and all the employees had witnessed it all and applauded us. I couldn't wait to tell Beth. She was at my house with the girls since Amanda had a date that night. The girls had been asleep until Beth saw the ring and squealed so loud that it woke Debbie and Angie. The girls came running in to see what was going on. When we told them and showed them the ring, we all started squealing and the girls were jumping up and down. I asked Beth to be my maid of honor and she was very eager. Debbie and Angie, of course, would be my bridesmaids, as well as Amanda. Amanda and I had gotten much closer over the last few months and it was almost like she and I were sisters. Rusty was gracious enough to leave us girls to our excitement, but not before some long, lingering kisses on the front porch and our undying pronouncement of love for each other. Beth stayed the night with the girls and we just made it an impromptu slumber party. We had cookies and drank 7-Up from champagne glasses for our party. Even the girls lasted until about 2:30 in the morning with us doing each other's hair while we discussed the wedding. We set the date of the wedding in July. I know, it's so hot. But I wanted to have my surgery first so I would be a complete woman for Rusty and I would have time to recuperate before the wedding. Beth and the girls went with me to look for our dresses. I didn't really need a big fancy wedding and I wanted the girls to have as much fun as I would have. I let them pick out their own dresses. They have a surprisingly sophisticated fashion sense for 7-year-olds. But then we had been playing dress up for almost a year now. They chose the same dress because they wanted to dress as sisters, of course. They chose pale pink chiffon dresses. Beth and Amanda even found a pale pink chiffon number in a style that she liked so she would match the girls. I found a magnificent satin and lace dress with a fitted bodice, lace sleeves and a low-cut front that showed off my now blossoming cleavage. I loved it. Dr. Roberts was great about the surgery. Rusty, Beth and the girls were all there when I woke up. Beth took some time off to stay with me, letting Sandy run the salon. The girls waited on me hand and foot. 2 weeks before the wedding, my attorney called to say that the city had decided to settle our lawsuit out of court. Wise decision. Debbie and Angie would have a nice trust fund set up for when they turned 21. Not a bad wedding present. We also set up the Lori Hart Scholarship Fund at the cosmetology school Lori and Beth had graduated from. While all the girls and I had been planning the wedding with Rusty telling me whatever made him happy, Rusty had been busy, too. Rusty had purchased the empty lot next to his home and had his crew turn it into a garden paradise complete with a huge gazebo big enough for the entire wedding party to be under. We would have our wedding outside in this beautiful setting. There was plenty of room to set up chairs for the guest and one area of the garden was set up as a play area for the girls, complete with a 1/4 scale playhouse for the girls to play in. Rusty even made them furniture and things in their size. The day of the wedding everything was perfect. The sun was shining and there was a slight breeze to keep everybody from burning up. Rusty's nephew was escorting Amanda and they seemed to hit it off right away. Debbie and Angie looked like little angels. Beth was there with her fiancé. They will be getting married later in the year and Beth has asked me to be her maid of honor. I'm so happy that she has found a man that will make her as happy as Rusty has made me. And I have never been so happy or felt more like a woman than when the pastor pronounced us man and wife. I was now Mrs. Rusty Williams. I didn't think it could get any better, but I was wrong. We had all assembled in the garden for the reception as the live band played. Rusty and I were dancing our third dance when both Debbie and Angie came over and tugged on my dress. I thought they wanted to dance, but they had something else on their minds. Debbie said, "Aunt Tammy, Mr. Williams, Angie and I have been thinking." Then Angie got to the point, "Aunt Tammy, Daddy, Debbie and I were wondering, do you think our mothers would mind if we called Aunt Tammy Mother from now on?" Then Debbie asked, "And Aunt Tammy, would you mind if I called Mr. Williams Daddy from now on?" I just started crying and when I looked at Rusty, my big strong husband, he was crying, too. Debbie was the first to ask why we were crying. Rusty took this one, "I think that your mothers would not want to be forgotten and we won't forget them. But, your mothers would also want you to find a new family, including a new mother and daddy. I think your mothers would be pleased to have you call Tammy your mother." Then I said, "And, I think it would be wonderful to have you call me your mother and for you to call Rusty your father or daddy." We love you both very much. We all had a group hug and kissed each other. Rusty already had plans to adopt Debbie, and I would adopt Angie when we got back from our honeymoon. We would soon be a true real family. After the reception, we all changed clothes and headed to the airport. Rusty and I had decided that we would take Beth and her fiancé, John, Amanda and Rusty's nephew Mike, and of course Debbie and Angie, all to Hawaii with us for our honeymoon. It just made sense to us. We loved both of our daughters and didn't want to spend too much time away from them. So taking them with us, we would also need a babysitter, so we were taking Amanda and Mike. We wanted to allow Amanda and Mike some fun time also. And Beth and John could get a preview of Hawaii and know what they want to do when they come back for their own honeymoon later in the year. On the plane ride to Hawaii, while the others played cards or napped, I thought back over the things that had happened over the past year. I also started writing a new book. The first writing I had done in over a year. It will be a children's book and will have a dedication to Lori. I thought about how this had all started. It had started because I had not wanted my daughter to suffer after her mother's death. Rusty, in his own way, was doing the same thing, looking for a way to ease the hurt caused by Angie's mother's death. Rusty and I would do anything for the love of our daughters. I couldn't help thinking how exciting it will be to see our daughters grow up and get married themselves. And then how wonderful it will be when our daughters have their own daughters. Then they will truly understand just how much a parent is willing to do for the love of a daughter.